Rotten Willow's last contracts were behind him. When he returned to the tavern, Locre offered him a new job, an ancient tablet, a chapel, and a reward large enough not to refuse. Jorgrim accepted. By the time they reached the location marked by Locre, the sun was already beginning to set. The chapel was still out of sight, but it was close. But being close did not mean being safe. The bandits of Rotten Willow knew these roads better than anyone, and darkness was their ally. Finding signs of them so close to the chapel left him with a bad feeling. Jorgrim stayed alert, but he did not stop. He kept moving forward. And the feeling proved to be right. Jorgrim realized he was not the only one searching for the tablet. The bandits had arrived first. For a moment, he thought things might become complicated. But when he saw armed men occupying the chapel, the matter would be settled in only one way, and it was the way he knew best. The battle was over. Surrounded by enemies, Jorgrim survived the way he knew best. One strike dodged, another blocked. A counterattack, then another, stronger than the last. When the final bandit fell, he thought it was finally over. It wasn't. The priest was still alive, and the tablet was not there. Instead, he handed over a key and the location where it could be found. He spoke of other matters as well, details and explanations that Jorgrim barely paid attention to. Only one thing mattered. The mission continued. The objective had not changed. It was simply farther away than he had expected. After a brief stop at camp to rest, repair his gear, and gather supplies, Jorgrim set out once more. The tablet was still waiting. The tablet was still waiting, and so were the bandits. It seemed word of the key had spread faster than it should have. Every stretch of road brought new ambushes, new men, convinced they could take the job Jorgrim already considered his. Maybe they wanted the key. Maybe they wanted the tablet. It didn't matter. If they wanted either one, they would have to take it from him. And Jorgrim had 2 axes ready to argue the matter. At last, Jorgrim arrived at the Theosopher's Refuge. Once it had been a sanctuary. Now it was a crypt. The dead walked its halls and guarded its depths as if they still had a duty to fulfill. Perhaps they did. The tablet was inside, hidden behind sealed doors and guardians who should have remained buried long ago. Jorgrim studied the entrance for a moment. The objective was within reach. Only one thing stood between him and his reward: an army of the dead. His grip on his axes tightened. Any remaining doubt had been left behind. The enemies felt familiar. Jorgrim had faced horrors like these before in Black Retreat. Skeletons that still retained fragments of the fighting styles they had mastered in life. Necromancers wielding unholy magic, and the constant feeling of moving through a place where the living were not welcome. None of it was new. As long as he trusted his instincts and chose his battlegrounds carefully, he would keep moving forward. The dead could be many, but Jorgrim's axes only needed room to fall. Jorgrim's instincts proved right once again. Theosopher finally revealed himself, a powerful necromancer and the final guardian of the tablet. Jorgrim reacted immediately. He had no intention of fighting on his enemy's terms. Drawing the dead away from their master, he led the battle through the crypt and cut down the undead one by one. Now, Only one enemy remained between Jorgrim and his objective, Theosopher. At last, the duel could begin.
The duel ended faster than expected. Without his servants to shield him, Theosopher no longer seemed so dangerous. Jorgrim caught him off guard, closed the distance, and let his axes do the rest. In the end, the tablet was his. Only one decision remained. He could return to Locre, collect his reward, and forget about the whole affair. Or he could bring the tablet to the priest and allow the ritual to be completed. Jorgrim looked at the tablet for a moment. The gods of Aldor were not his gods. They never would be. But Aldor no longer felt foreign to him. These lands had given him work, food, a purpose when he had none, and, in their own way, a second chance. For the first time since arriving, the decision was not only about coin. He picked up the tablet and set out toward the priest. When he arrived at the chapel, Jorgrim learned that the tablet was only part of the process. This was not a simple blessing. It was a ritual, one that had to be performed at night to consecrate the chapel and shield it from the dark forces that had claimed these lands for far too long. And of course, those same forces had no intention of standing aside. If the ritual began, they would try to stop it at any cost. Jorgrim's task was simple: keep the priest alive until it was over. Nothing more, nothing less. With several hours still remaining before nightfall, he returned to inside the chapel to rest. Then, when midnight arrived and darkness settled over the marshes, he returned to the chapel. The priest took the tablet. The first words of the ritual echoed through the ruins, and Jorgrim rested a hand on one of his axes. The long night had just begun. The ritual was complete. As the final words were spoken, an unfamiliar calm settled over the chapel. The chapel was blessed. And Jorgrim had completed 2 tasks in one. The priest offered him a reward for his help, but this time the dwarf refused. He had already made his choice when he decided to bring the tablet there. Yet the gesture did not go unnoticed. Far from Aldor, the gods of Fjall watched the path he had chosen. And when Jorgrim left the chapel, he felt the blessing that followed him into battle grow stronger once more. There were no voices, no explanations, only the certainty that someone had seen what he had done. The tablet remained in his possession, though its power had been spent during the ritual. Laukri was still waiting for it, and according to the occultist, that was no problem. If anyone knew how to restore its power, it was him. The mission was over, and for once, not everything he gained could be measured in coin. For now, Rotten Willow had nothing left to offer Jorgrim. The contracts were complete. The tablet had been recovered. The chapel had been blessed. It was time to move on. Jorgrim needed something that coin alone could not buy. Better reputation, better equipment, and to earn both, he needed more work. The decision was simple: Mannshire. There were still contracts to complete there, and a name to build. The caravan agreed. Without wasting time, they broke camp and set out on the road. Rotten Willow faded behind them, and a new chapter waited ahead.